So for the last 12 years, I've worked with many of the Fortune 100 companies to apply data to help them make the best business decisions. So today, I want to share with you the secret of data-driven thinking. Once you understand how it works, you will become more effective in your work and in your life. But before I start, I want to thank the host, the Melton Foundation ZU campus today, for putting together such an incredible event, and thanking them for inviting me to speak to you today. Now, based on some personal connections, I know a little bit about the history of Melton Foundation. It's a wonderful organization. When this campus joined Melton Foundation almost 20 years ago, the internet is still in its infancy. As a matter of fact, email is the only thing going on, the internet. Then there's the web. And today, we're looking at the third generation of the web, the so-called IoT, the Internet of Things, where we're turning the entire world into a digital universe, where every part of it are being turned into data-generating devices or nodes. Today, we have 600 exabytes of data created worldwide. So what is an exabyte? An exabyte is 10 to the 18th of power. That's a lot of zeros. By the way, our human brain has about 1 terabyte of storage capacity. So that's 6 zeros ago. So needless to say, that even if the entire world, everybody start to read all these digital content, we will never finish it in our lifetime. So what is even more incredible is that all of these happened in the last only 2 decades. Compared to the long human history of hundreds of thousands of years, that is incredibly recent. So here is the good news and bad news situation. The good news is our brains are incredible computing machinery. But the bad news is many of our instincts are developed tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of years ago in the jungle, in the prairie, or wherever our ancestors happen to be. So we're known to be procrastinators, we're easily biased, we're very superficial, we can be easily manipulated, we're very superstitious, and we're extremely afraid of uncertainty. So we have lots of problems. And these made our lives much harder in the coming years and coming decades. So today, I'm going to share with you some experience how we can overcome those problems and make our work and make our life more effective. In the long history of human life, for the very first time, we need to develop a new kind of mindset to survive in a very drastically different environment than before. An author called Ray Kurzweil and others have predicted the so-called Singularity, which is a point where machine intelligence will surpass human intelligence. It is all based on this law called Moore's Law, where machines doubling their efforts every 18 months and never stop. And some of the people are even more pessimistic, that they claim this point of singularity will mean the end of the human intelligence as we know it. I still remember 15 years ago, the watershed moment when a supercomputer called Deep Blue defeated Garry Kasparov, which is the highest ranked chess player in all human history. Now, the question is, can human intelligence survive this relentless pace of Moore's Law? Will we become button pusher and slaves to supercomputers? Or even worse, the Matrix-style human batteries? Well, at least that's what I told my 4-year-old. If you keep watching TV, that's what you will end up with. But Why is it important to you today? First of all, many of the businesses have embraced one big change in the last years. They're finding data-driven thinking a critical part of their business decision-making process. It has changed their decision-making process drastically. The leaders of these companies, I have personally witnessed many of those instances, have moved away from gut calls to consistently apply data-driven thinking in making the most important decisions. It all started with the banks and finance companies. They started to hire a new batch of people called quants, or people with high math and all the data skills that needed to solve complex equations and applying algorithms to large amount of data. Then it moved to the marketing company, marketing industries, and even healthcare industries. And now it's almost every industry are hiring these quants or analytical people in their business. In a global scale, in China and globally, we're faced in a post-industrialization world. Now, you would all agree that China can probably produce more stuff than everyone in the world can consume. So the basic Econ 101 teaches us that the cost center has shifted from production to transaction. Marketers know that. So they've been very successful in applying all the data they have to infer on the consumer's behavior. I work with some of them. But on the other hand, consumers are also using data and tools to find merchants and products. Today, I would never go out to shop or rent a movie or buy a book without checking on the ratings first or looking at the online search engines or recommendation engines or social networks. It's just not efficient without applying the data to help you to guide to select the best product for you, the best book to read, the best movie to see. So the companies best catering to these kind of trends are proven to be much more successful than their competitors. In the society we live in, data brings transparency and accountability. We all know that facts can be manipulated, can be hidden, but multi-dimensional data are much harder to manipulate. For example, for every social experiment, like the World Expo in Shanghai I just visited the other day, we should collect as much data as possible in the process, and then study the outcome carefully for any success, or perhaps some failure, or unintended consequences. It is our job to think about ethics and policy by applying data-driven thinking when it comes to social benefits and social harm. For example, corruption or policy mistakes will no longer be big problems if, and only if, we can make all the relevant data public. It is also applicable to our lives. Have you ever wondered how much better your life can be if you can manage your resources, your time, and your money well? If we know we're procrastinators, committing to deadlines would work really well. There's data shown to that effect. There's research being done that. And if we are aware that we're superstitious, and we're very superstitious or easily manipulated, we could insist on collecting the data to prove what's real and what is not. And if we're hate to be superficial and biased, let's force ourselves to listen to the story, to look at the data behind each story before we make a judgment. Now, there are many students and educators today in the audience. Just a lucky guess. Education is very important. Education is a force multiplier. That means $1 or 1 yuan of investment can yield hundreds of dollars return, or hundreds of yuan's return. For example, data have shown that we acquire knowledge best by making as many associations as possible. So if our educators follow that, we would have ever-changing classrooms with all learning subjects mixed in, instead of having dedicated time slots or dedicated classrooms. Our brains start to learn the environment before we're even born, and it will never stop until the day we die. New researchers have shown that we even would grow new connections, new permanent neural connections, even in adulthood. And you've heard Calvin talking about the 10,000-hour rule. This author, Malcolm Gladwell, he has discovered a simple universal rule for creating world-class professionals and champions in sports by sifting through large amount of data. Now, for the rest of us, using data and tool to understand the optimal way each of us acquire knowledge, learn skills, that is a force multiplier. So now, I want to give you 3 tips of data-driven thinking. The first one is, always use the best data for your organization. Treat your data as the most important asset and the most important strategy. It is shocking how often people collect data with huge biases, with severe lack of data to draw conclusions that could easily happen by chance. So pay attention to these questions. Ask about the biases in the data. Ask about the conclusion, whether they are statistically significant. Google those words when you go home. And remember, the opposite of bias is randomness. Randomness is your friend. Randomness can overcome those hidden factors that you cannot control and can make your experiment, whether it's a social, economical, or technological experiments, much more effective. But above all, apply data whenever possible to make your decision. Apply the best data you can. The second tip, learn to love uncertainty. I've talked about that certainty is comforting. It's safe. It helped our ancestors to survive in the jungle. Even if it means mediocrity. We're no longer living in the jungle anymore. But unfortunately, these instincts are baked into our DNA. In other words, we always overestimate the value of certainty and exaggerate the risk of uncertainty. There's examples shown that people are not afraid of uncertainty, are much better investors. So, now we know it, and we have clear evidence of it. Let's make a conscious effort to change that. Take a chance. Pick a new road. Think about doing something different all the time. You should always do something that is twice as big and twice as more impactful if you have more than 50% chance of succeeding. That is the number there. That is what it means. I guarantee you, if you keep doing that, you will get ahead in life. Now people ask about, what about casinos? Well, there's no uncertainty there. You will always lose. So don't go there, unless you're prepared to lose money. The last tip, hypotheses. Whether you're working in government, business or academic researchers. Decision-making is the process of constructing hypotheses and then proving them wrong. In other words, to reach the right conclusion, you need to first prove all the others wrong, and as quickly as possible. So focus on constructing hypotheses that are relevant and easy to prove wrong. Ideally, by applying the data you already collected and by the tools you already have. So, that is the process of managing any decision-making process by focusing on the right hypothesis and working at them as quickly as possible. Now, there are certain things that cannot be proven wrong. All the sciences can be proven wrong, or we call it fallible. For example, astrology, or any religion, or one's wife. Well, that is, if you still have one. If you remember these, you will be fine. Now, let me come back to this question about singularity. We've seen the Moore's law working relentlessly in the last several decades. Today, an average PC has more capacity than the average human brain, and probably more processing power as well. So will we survive? Will human intelligence survive? Here's another secret I want to share with you. I believe we have a bright future. Our human intelligence have a bright future beyond the point of singularity. Our brains are incredible hierarchical computing machines. It is very resilient in forming muscle memories from our experience in the environment. As a matter of fact, 95% of our brains are dedicated to that. It is not yet well understood by the neuroscientists. So, we need to form a new kind of muscle memory, a new gut feeling that built on the new environment we live in today. The 5% of our brains that we know little about are in charge of audio-visual signal processing, recognition, languages, logical thinking, all the things we know of. Now just imagine what kind of amazing things we can accomplish if we can tap into the rest 95% of the brain. What potential can we have? If we can turn that 10,000 hours into 1,000 hours, everybody could become geniuses. Not only that, we can all acquire 10 superhuman abilities. Just imagine the school in the future. You come in the first day, they'll ask you, what kind of genius you want to be? Okay, second floor, third room. That is probably the bigger secret we all need to unlock. Now, why China? China has the great math and science education foundations. Perhaps a little bit more theoretical. We need to focus more on the applied side, but great foundation nonetheless. China has a large population and complex societal needs. The world has become a data-driven world. We need to manage, in this country, large amount of natural and financial resources. We need to engineer the right policy and the right technological approaches to solve all these social, economical, and technological problems. Some of these you've seen in the other talks today. And these all require the right analytical mindset. And lastly, any transformation in China would impact the whole world. China is not only the world's factory, but it's also becoming the world's market as well. It will become the most important country in this globalized economy. And thank you. That's it.